And welcome back to the Extra Point. And for the third straight week in a row, we're going to talk about a bald guy. It's the only show in Tigervision where we relentlessly go after James Franklin. Why? Because he gives us great material. But for those of you just joining us, I'm Jordan York. I'm the host of the Extra Point. Over on the panel today, we've got one newbie, two returners. From left to right, it's Alex Tran making his first appearance of the day. And then Brian Warner, who is the only picker so far we've had on the panel with a record above 500. Through 9 games picked, he's 5-4.
Does that include you?
And on the far right, Caden Hughes, who is 1-5 in his first 6 games, the first appearance of the season. But we're going to kick things off with a brand new segment in Extra Point history, and this one's called Button Pushers. Because we all know on Saturdays and Sundays, we watch those teams that push all the buttons that make us pretty upset and make us want to scream at the TV. And the first of these teams is Penn State. So what I'm going to ask the panel is, based off of what we've seen from Penn State the last couple weeks, losing to Oregon, losing to UCLA on Saturday, are we hitting the panic button on Penn State and declaring the season practically over for them? Or do we need to chill out? There's still a lot of season left, playoffs still in sight, all that good stuff. Panel, what do you think?
Yeah, you absolutely should panic if you're a Penn State fan. I don't know why your expectations would ever have been that much higher because you're a Penn State fan, but I said on this panel 2 weeks ago, if you spike the ball in every down, you have a higher QB rating than Drew Aller this season. That's no longer true. Drew has, I would say what's now, I'd give him a D- for his quarterback rating. It's no longer as horrible as it was and stuff. But that doesn't matter. I mean, you have James Franklin as a coach, and he cannot win big games. I think that after last season, they had an amazing run last season. I think they were a great example of how a 12-team playoff format opens the door for some of these like next-level teams. Like I think that I said this to a friend of mine a couple weeks ago. Like Oklahoma in the late 2010s that was making the playoffs every year had a worse chance than like 13 teams this year to win a national championship. I think this new format opens the door for teams like Penn State, but I think last year was kind of a fluke. They went as far as they could possibly go last year, and I needed to see some dominance this year and some difference this year to actually believe in this program. Losing to UCLA does not do that, obviously. You cannot be losing these. If you can't win big games, you have to win every small game. They're going to lose to Ohio State. They're going to lose to Indiana, and I think they could drop one more. That's 5 losses. That's 7-5. I'd predict them to go 8-4. I think they're closer to 7-5 than they are to beating a top 10 opponent for the rest of the season. And so they should absolutely be panicked, and I think it's as close to over as it can possibly be for a program with this much hype going into the season.
I am absolutely jumping on that panic train. This is really a pathetic showing by Drew Aller so far. His highest passing performance was against, I believe it was it was Nevada with 217 yards. After that, it was 209, I believe, against FIU. And then it was 200, 200, and 137, which was the one against Oregon. He has not looked good. And the worst part about it is that you matched up with arguably the worst quarterback in the CFB entirely, let alone the worst offense. Because UCLA this entire season before this Penn State game had never led 1 second in any game in their first, 4 games that they went 0-4?
Yeah.
Never once did they lead. And it turns out now that not only does Penn State gave up a lead to someone that hasn't had it in 16 quarters, but then on top of that, James Franklin now has tied, which, mind me, because I don't remember the UCLA's interim head coach name. Does Jordan, do you by chance know? I don't remember his name.
I don't.
Didn't they have a new OC, DC, and head coach going into this game?
They had an OC that never called a play ever before in his life. And their head coach, their interim head coach, which forgive me for not knowing the name, but their interim head coach has the same amount of top 10 wins against Big Ten programs as James Franklin does in his entire career. I read that earlier today, and I was like, there is no shot that an interim head coach that has played now, 2 games? One game?
Yeah.
Has the same amount of ranked top 10 wins against a Big Ten opponent, so a Big Ten opponent that is ranked in the top 10, as James Franklin in his career.
All right, well, I think we can all agree that it's panic mode for the Nittany Lions. I mean, we're talking about a potential top 4 team going into the college football playoff, and now they're unranked. I mean, you lose to a winless UCLA. Interim head coach, actually, they cleaned house the entire coaching staff. And it's unbelievable how they were down 27-7 at half to UCLA, who, I don't even know. They don't even deserve to be in the Big Ten, honestly, with Nico Iamaleava at quarterback. But I don't know how I see Penn State going forward. I don't see them competing against number 1 Ohio State. I don't see them competing against number 7 Indiana. The schedule's not going to get any tougher, and I don't know if I can see them being in the college football playoffs going into late in January. So, yeah.
You know, it's a good thing as host I don't have to believe everything I say on this show, because just to make it a little interesting, I'm going to say chill. Not sure if you can see that, but you look at Penn State's remaining schedule. Obviously, there's 2 ranked games left, and those are at Ohio State and home for Indiana. I think they lose to Ohio State because James Franklin always does, especially when it's on the road. But I think they actually beat Indiana. I'm still not sold on Indiana. I think Kurt Cignetti is a good coach, don't get me wrong, but I just haven't seen Indiana beat a really good team. I know they kicked the crap out of Illinois a couple weeks ago. I don't think Illinois is really that great a team. So I think Penn State beats Indiana, saves James Franklin's career, and we get, another season of Penn State and James Franklin, and they'll start 6-0, and then they'll lose 2 games they have no business losing, and we just keep going around the same train with Penn State. And kind of another team on the same Penn State trail is Texas. We thought they were back for so many years. They actually had a really good showing last year, made it all the way to the semifinals of the college football playoff before they lost to the eventual national champion Ohio State Buckeyes. But this year, a different story. Everybody who clamored for Arch Manning isn't doing so anymore. He's looked quite terrible through Texas's first few games. Texas fell to Florida in the Swamp on Saturday for their second loss of the season, and they still have a gauntlet in the SEC. Are we hitting the panic button with Texas, or are we chilling?
We're hitting the panic button. I could keep this short, and I'm going to make this not short. I think that we got to stop doing this whole hyping up a young quarterback going into the offseason that hasn't done anything. Arch Manning was so high in Heisman contention and stuff going into this year after not doing that much, and I understand it. Okay, I want to go into sports media, and I foresee it being very, very hard to predict, because you never know who's going to be a good quarterback in college football, because that jump from sophomore year to junior year, junior to senior year is so unpredictable, and some people never make that leap. Some people make that leap to astronomical levels, and you got to talk for 9 straight months about who's going to do that. And so Arch Manning's such a great player to throw in there. But yeah, I mean, he could be a good quarterback. It's just he's not going to be a immediate in the SEC dominant quarterback his first year fully starting and stuff. And that, I mean, he can have a great NFL career still. I still believe he can figure it out. But when I look at the schedule and I see Oklahoma, Vandy, Georgia, and Texas A&M, it would take a 2011 Auburn Cam Newton run from Arch Manning for them to figure this out. And this could be a good program, and it could be one of those teams where you're like, man, this was a lethal 8-4 team this year. But in terms of actually finding great success, I think at best they're a 12 seed that you just hate to play against. But even then, I think we're reaching.
I'm looking right now because I'm trying to figure out, I can't remember how many games he actually started, but I'm actually going to kind of side with you to an extent, but I'm still going chillish, all right? Okay. Because I don't think it's completely chill. There's a little bit of worry, but not too much. I'm with you on the fact that I think too many times people overvalue or overhype prospects based either on name, how they play in a high school, which is a lower division level, or anything else. But I think at the same time, people are way too quick to throw a bust on a name of a player.
100%.
Oh, way too quick. Arch Manning has done a total of, I couldn't find the games because I can't remember exactly what the number is, but as far as snap count goes, he's done a total of 230 snaps, 95 of which in his first 2 seasons. Essentially, he is still in his freshman year, if you will, maybe starting his sophomore year, give or take.
That's a freshman year snap count.
That is.
Easily.
So,
100%.
All these people are overreacting where you're being thrown into a position that was held by Quinn Ewers for 2 years, who had high expectations, who also was a 5th-year player, so he had as much experience as anyone else, plus playing at Ohio State and at Texas. And you expect Arch Manning to come up quickly because he was overhyped. So it feeds into it. The overhype feeds into the over-expectations, or the high expectations that Arch Manning doesn't fulfill because he's 18, 19, 20 years old. So with that being said, yes, there's slight panic just because I think if you want to say that Texas has high hopes of going back to the championship or at least contending for a championship or back to the semifinals, yes, there's panic that they might not do that, being unranked, just like Penn State. But I don't think there's panic for their future, as I think Arch is going to stay. He's going to do his 4th year, and he's going to actually show why he was the number 1 ranked prospect in his class in 2023. And I think he's going to show that next year when he comes back and actually dominates the field.
Yes, I would say, but panic, I'll go the same as some of y'all, but Arch Manning, I mean, he had a lot of expectations. He had a lot of pressure put on him after the season they had with Quinn Ewers. But, I mean, heck, they were ranked number 1 in the nation, right, at preseason. But, I mean, yeah, he has looked a little bit bad as of right now. Again, I mean, it's the inexperience, right? I mean, I don't know how many games he started last year, about 2, I think.
Last year against lower level.
Yeah, lower level, yes. And now he's going against these top-tier SEC teams. I mean, heck, looking at the schedule, we got Oklahoma, you got Georgia, and Vanderbilt, and Texas A&M. I mean, I know it's not going to be an easy rest of the season for Arch Manning, but I mean, I wouldn't give up on him yet. But I mean, we can still see him develop throughout the season as Texas quarterback. But I mean, for the Texas program overall, I mean, with the amount of hype that you had going into the offseason and seeing Arch Manning play out right now, I mean, it's not looking pretty bright.
I feel like there is a clear difference between that Penn State, because a lot of people will probably going to think like, oh, but Drew Aller and Arch Manning are playing around the same.
I mean, Drew Aller's been here for a while.
Correct. It's the experience that we've been like hyping on. It's that experience plus on the top of that, I mean, Drew Aller, like I said, hasn't gone past 217 yards a game. But again, being here, I think it's his 4th year. He's a senior.
So.
Supposed to be one of the top QBs in the class, while Arch Manning's just taken over.
Yes.
So I agree with you. I'm like, that's where that experience is a big key factor in this.
I said finger on the button, but not pushing it yet, and that's largely because Texas's defense is still one of the best in the nation. This is a team that gave up more than 14 points for the first time this season, and there is no better coach in college football than Billy Napier when he knows he's going to get fired if he loses the game. He has some ridiculous wins under his belt when playing at the Swamp, when he kind of knows his job is on the line after Florida has a rocky start to the season. But this is a Texas team that goes into a Red River rivalry matchup with Oklahoma this week. Oklahoma doesn't have Mateer. They have a backup quarterback, and that defense is going to cause all sorts of problems for Michael Hawkins. So I think they beat Oklahoma. They shoot themselves back up into the rankings. And then you're looking at your only tough games the rest of the way being Vanderbilt, Georgia, and A&M. I think your defense carries you through the 2 home games in Vanderbilt and A&M, and I think you lose to Georgia because, well, it's Georgia. But I think this Texas team with 3 losses can still slide into the playoff because they'll have a couple really nice wins in Vanderbilt, OU, and A&M at the end of the day. But moving from college football to the NFL, there's one team that there's a lot of eyes on after this weekend, and that's the Los Angeles Chargers, because after a punt return for a touchdown by Ladd McConkey was called back due to a roughing the punter penalty, the Chargers at the time would have been up 14-0. Instead, it was only 7. They ended up losing to the Washington Commanders with a returning Jaden Daniels 27-10. They looked quite terrible throughout most of that game, and that's the 2nd straight loss after a 3-0 start. Their loss coming last week to the Giants before falling to the Commanders yesterday. So, with the Chargers and with how competitive this AFC West has been, with Kansas City still being the team they are, with Denver knocking off Philly, giving them their first loss of the season yesterday, are we hitting the panic button on the Chargers, or are we relaxing with Jim Harbaugh?
That's a great question. I'm relaxing with Jim Harbaugh. Let's talk about the NFL. So, yeah, obviously the loss of the Giants was tough. That happens in the NFL. There's a lot of variance in the NFL and stuff. And then the Commanders' loss was brutal. I mean, this Chargers team is never going to win 14 games, 13 games and stuff. And I mean, but I think that just the way the Chiefs have started, and betting against Patrick Mahomes is very, very hard to do. But I just think that within that division, my belief in the Chargers winning the division going into the season was a lot lower than it is now. I think that the Chiefs are vulnerable. I think the Chargers are better than the Broncos, just straight up. I like Bo Nix. I like Justin Herbert a lot more. I understand the shortcomings with Herbert. I think I went on a little rant about Herbert last time I was on the show, so I won't do that again. But I understand the shortcomings with Herbert. I'm a huge Herbert fan. Losing both their tackles is really tough. That's brutal. I'm definitely not confident on this chill, but I just think that I'm more panicked about the Chiefs, and I'm more confident in the Chargers talent-wise, to where if I were to split it up, I'd give the Chargers a 40% chance to win the division, and that would be first for me if I were to predict it. So I would say chill. It's not falling apart, but if you were 3-0 thinking about the Super Bowl, like maybe chill then. But if you're just trying to win the division, which I think is the goal of the Chargers, chill. You still have a decent shot.
I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to say chill. Now, I did say panic for the MVP because I do think Justin Herbert's MVP race is kind of coming down as it's looking like Sam Darnold, crazy enough, and Baker Mayfield even are actually making more of a push. My opinion, I think Baker's at the front runner for the QB position right now.
That's not going to lie.
We're always going to know it's going to probably come down to like Mahomes or Allen or if Lamar ever gets healthy. But there are a lot more teams that I'm going to be hitting the panic button for than the Chargers. The Chargers are right now still 4th in the AFC. Very comfortably in their lead. And I'm talking about record. So this is not even just like playoff seed. This is record-wise. They're still tied for 4th in the league for the best record. They're 3-2. They lost to the Giants in New York. And they lost to the Commanders with Jaden Daniels back, who's one of the better QBs in the league when he's healthy, even though he's in his 2nd year. But with this being said, yes, the MVP conversation might be over for Justin, but as far as the team goes, the team has suffered some pretty major losses. Like Caden said, I had to pull it up here to figure it out. Week 1, they lost Rashawn Slater. Week 2, they lost Khalil Mack. Week 3, they lost Najee Harris. Week 4, they lost Joe Alt. And Week 5, they lost to Marion Hampton, all of which are multi-week or season-ending injuries. And they've still been able, along with other injuries that they've suffered, been able to hold on to their lead not only in the division, but also show that they can still compete for a playoff spot and possibly run a semi-deep playoff run, maybe to like the divisional round, maybe to the AFC Championship if the strings kind of get played right or the cards are played right. But I'm not really panicking. I would much rather hit a panic button for a team like the Ravens, for the Texans. I'm looking more towards them because that's a team where you thought coming in that their identity wouldn't be shaken up, and they've just been completely flipped on their head. The Chargers, I haven't seen that yet. Yes, they've been overwhelmed at points, but I don't see it as a panic call or a call for a panic button to be pushed.
I would say chill as well. Yes, I mean, both of those losses were not pretty, I would say. But again, the injuries were very brutal, including losing the tackles, Joe Alt, Rashawn Slater. And, Herbert's play has been regressing without his tackles, but I still wouldn't panic just yet. I mean, yes, you're 3-2. You're still in a good spot. You're over 500. And, next week, you're playing the Dolphins. I would say that's a pretty good game to get your season back up and running. Yes, for Justin Herbert, ever since the Madison Beer the publicity, yes, it has not looked bright for him. But I'm also panicking on the Chargers defense a bit. You were up 10-0 and then you gave up 27 unanswered points. But again, Jaden Daniels, like you said, he is a pretty good quarterback. But I think the Chargers will still find a way to get back together, and they'll find a way to finish the season strong. I see them going into the playoffs still. Hopefully, playoff Herbert doesn't play a factor. That dude has not won his playoff game yet, right, in his career.
No, because I always forget which one the Jacksonville came back.
Blew the 27-0 lead and the disaster in Houston last year. So, but we're hoping to not see that Justin Herbert in the postseason. But I don't know if any of those tackles are coming back. I don't know if Joe Alt's going to come back from the high ankle sprain.
Was that?
I think
yeah,
he had a high
ankle.
ankle sprain.
He's out at least to the end
Slater's
of the
out for the season.
Slater's out for the season.
Slater was out before it started.
Before it all started.
Najee's out, which doesn't matter, but now Hampton's out, so your
Marion
running backs,
Hampton, yes.
Hassan Haskins and someone else, Michigan legend?
Go Blue. Yes, but I still think the Chargers are still in a pretty good spot. Yes, they're fourth in the AFC. They're still leading the division, right?
Yep.
They still have the head-to-head win over Denver, so that brings them.
And the Chiefs.
And the Chiefs,
They opened it up with the Chiefs. I forgot about
that. So they're doing great in the AFC West right now. So.
I am with all of you. I'm not going to play devil's advocate here. I'm chilling because, and I put on my board that the AFC is weaker than the NFC. Because it's just decimated. Joe Burrow being out for the Bengals completely takes them out of contention. The injuries that we've seen decimate Baltimore, both offensively and defensively, they're going to be too much to overcome. I don't even think they make it. I think the playoff picture is actually really, really clear in the AFC because I think you've got 3 teams from the West that can make it. I think you've got 2 from the South in Indianapolis and Jacksonville. I think Pittsburgh runs away with the North because every other team in that division is terrible because of the injuries they're dealing with. And then I think Buffalo and New England also are in there as well. I think New England's a sleeper in the AFC, but just because the conference is absolutely destroyed by injuries, I think the Chargers can chill because they can have an ugly season and they could still slide in at the 7th spot because there's a major gap between the top of the conference and then the bottom, and there isn't a lot of room in between. So since they're closer to the top, they'll be fine. But we're going to move on to a new segment. Well, not a new segment, but just a segment we haven't hit yet this season, and we're going to rank them. We've got 2 categories, the first being in college football, the second being in pro football. And the first category for y'all is rank the top 4 college football teams, in your opinion. Obviously, we all think we could be AP poll voters because we could do it better than the ones that they have doing it and setting the poll every week. Everybody always has complaints about that. So what are your thoughts on who the top 4 teams in college football are right now?
I don't know. This is really hard. I'm gonna start though. I can if y'all need me to. But I don't freaking know, dude. Because I feel like we're still in a place. College football is so hard because it's like there's like every team gets like 2 games a year to determine what they really are. I feel like when I'm just looking at this slate, like I mean Ohio State, I wrote it down. I mean Ohio State's beat no ranked teams. Oregon's beat no ranked teams. Like it's just like that's 2 big teams in there and stuff. So I'm gonna go by default to the philosophy of like, and they've lost so many players, but Ohio State's a good program that won a championship, and they haven't really proven to not be the best. I'm kind of going like UFC philosophy here. Like no one's taken that belt yet. I'll put them first. Do I think they're the best team in college football? No. But if you start arguing with me, I'll probably just be like, whatever, you're right. I don't really know. But I went OSU first. I put Miami second because ranked wins is not the best metric, but I don't think there's any great metric to determine college football standing and stuff. You kind of just got to watch the games and stuff. But Miami has 3 ranked wins, none in the top 15. I put them second. I believed in Carson Beck for a long time. I don't like Carson Beck, but I mean, I believed in him, and that's one of the few things I've been very right about in college football. So I guess I'm a Carson Beck fan now because that's how that works. Put A&M third because I like them. They're fun. They've been good. A&M versus Ole Miss is I would take A&M in that game in a neutral site. And then I put Oklahoma fifth because I believe in that defense. You highlighted the Oklahoma defense earlier in this show. I think it's very good. I think Venables is obviously a great coordinator. The best coach to wear a Clemson uniform in the last 20 years. And, so I have Oklahoma fourth. And I think that's going to change drastically soon. Their schedule's insane. But that's my ranking. But I would say the top 7, you couldn't rank it anywhere, but like you could kind of throw darts on that board for right now. And I think the next 4 or so weeks, it'll become a lot more clear.
So I'm pretty set on my first 3. My 4th one I'm like questionable about.
I was like that too.
But I think the way I'm looking at it is more of like momentum, talent, and balance. And for me, the number 1 team in the country that does that is Oregon, followed by Miami, followed by Ohio State, followed by Alabama. Now, I am not a big Alabama fan, but if I were, I know Grant's smiling because he's a fan.
Sweet home.
I know Alabama's not great. That's the one that everyone's going to look at. But to me, their one loss was a season opener against FSU, who looked like a very dominant top 5 program in the CFB up until their loss to Virginia, which was an double overtime thriller, and then they lost to number 2 seeded Miami. So yes, it's not looking fabulous right now for FSU, but it was still in Tallahassee that they lost. But what did Alabama do to respond? They come back, they blow out the next team, then they go in 2 weeks later to Georgia and win for the first time in, 33 games that Georgia's lost at home. If I'm looking and I'm taking out the records, I'm just looking at right now currently what these teams look like. Oregon is absolutely dominant on both sides of the ball. Miami has been great with Carson Beck. They haven't looked like they missed a step at all. Actually, in fact, they look like they got better than what they were with Cam Ward last year. And Ohio State, to me, yes, they're good. I think if I'm looking at those top 3, I'm probably comparing based off quarterbacks. I like Dante Moore, then I like Carson Beck, then I like Julian Sayin. And Ohio State really hasn't played any ranked teams. I haven't seen them go up in those high-pressured moments. They just haven't seen that. The one high-pressured moment, which was a ranked team, was Texas, but Texas right now is unranked. So I don't know how I feel. Oregon, on the other hand, going into Penn State got unranked. That's fair. But that was also in the middle of the season when Penn State had some energy, had some momentum. Oregon ended up going into a whiteout, beating the heck out of them. I say beating the heck out of them. It looked like a beatdown, but it was in overtime. And then Ohio State's game was more towards the beginning of the year, so you could call rust. That's why I kind of have it that way. It's based off quarterback, based off momentum, and then for Alabama, it's just simply that I think Alabama's going to go it. If I couldn't choose Alabama, I had to stick with an undefeated team, I'd probably say Ole Miss. I do kind of like how this committee has, how the AP committee has ranked them so far this week. The only thing I'd switch is Oregon, Ohio State. But if I'm going with truly what I think the 4 best teams are, Alabama has to be at 4 for me.
I would go with my top 4 teams. I would still say Ohio State is number 1. I mean, their defense is incredible. I mean, they have not given up double digits at all in any of their games. And I mean, yeah, we got Oregon who beat Penn State, and I mean, Oregon. I have Oregon at number 2. I still believe in Dante Moore. I still believe in the Ducks themselves. But I also have Miami. Carson Beck is looking good, especially after that Florida State game. And I wasn't really sure about Ole Miss being number 4. I thought Texas A&M might have been better than them in that case. So, but I'm good with these top 4 teams right here. So.
You know, the phrase "great minds think alike" comes in play here because Brian and I had the exact same 4-5 teams, just in a little bit of a different order. So I said for a very specific reason. I said Ohio State 1 because their defense is elite. I said Oregon 2 because they have, at the time, what was the best win in college football. Now it's probably not as good, but still a pretty decent win. Winning in a whiteout, not an easy thing to do. Their defenses look terrific, and the more the merrier in Oregon. Dante and DeCorian have been absolutely lethal on the offensive side of the ball this season, so I have them second. Miami's defense is elite, so I have them at third. I don't know how much I trust Carson Beck because we haven't really put him in a situation where they've had to rely on him to win the game. I think he still fits that kind of game manager that Miami's looking for. I don't know if he's that elite quarterback that could take him to the next level. And then 4, I put Alabama, and in very tiny in written 5, I put Ole Miss. I think Alabama proved a lot last week. When they took care of Vanderbilt, it was close, but it was never in doubt. Alabama had business taken care of, and it was the same way the week before when they played Georgia in Athens, went down and took the Bulldogs. They have arguably the best, well, they have the best back-to-back wins in college football this season, and I think this Alabama team is much different than last year. I thought what Theo Vaughn said on game day when he was like, well, this team last year, they did it with the former coach's players. This year is Kalen DeBoer's team. And I thought that was hilarious because the former coach was Nick Saban. But nevertheless, I have Bama 4. Ty Simpson's a great quarterback. I think he's arguably second in the Heisman race, maybe third. And their defense is just absolutely nasty. And then Ole Miss, I put 5. I know we're not supposed to put 5. But Bama and Ole Miss are interchangeable. I think it comes down to quarterback play. I don't trust Shane Bliss as much as I trust Ty Simpson, but that's going to round out the top 4 college football teams. So now we're going to move on. I mentioned it a little earlier. I kind of alluded to it when I said the AFC is weaker than the NFC. The NFC is an absolute gauntlet this year when you're looking at teams like Philly, like Washington, Detroit, Green Bay, Minnesota, San Francisco, LA. So many good teams. Tampa, Seattle. You're looking at all these teams. I challenge you guys, and I hope we get some different answers here because there should be. Who are the top 4 teams in the NFC right now?
I know this one. My marker bled out, though. But so first, Philly is the best team in the NFL, and we can do this every single year. We can do this with the Chiefs and with the Eagles every single year. Every year since, 2022, You can. I heard a podcast talking about this. They put an article up, and it was like, guess was this 2022, 3, 4, or 5 for the Eagles? And it was basically like, hey, it's 5 weeks in. The vibes aren't great. This team's so boring. It's so lame. The roster's not as good as we thought. And that's the narrative every single year at this point for the Eagles. Sometimes it's true, sometimes it's not. But I think that honestly, my theory for the Eagles is that Jalen Hurts just has a belief of like, if I don't throw a turnover in this game, we will win. And that's been one of the most freakishly positive correlations in all of sports. And so he's terrified to throw the football, and it's been working out for him. And I'm going to stop believing that when it stops working. But yeah, they crushed the Cowboys and the Steelers, who I think are like those in-between teams where it's like if they beat you, then you're probably a bad team. And if you make them look, if you make them look good, you're a bad team. If you make them look bad, you're probably a good team. And then they also beat the Commanders, or they lost the Commanders by 3. It was a close game. Sorry, that's 2024. I'm so sorry, y'all. Can y'all give me a second? They beat the Bucks, who are on this list too. They beat the Rams, who, if they beat the Eagles, the Rams would be on this list right now. They beat the Chiefs. They beat the Cowboys. That's an incredible slate of games. They are the reigning Super Bowl champions. They're awesome. And, yeah, Philly's boring, but they're great. Detroit, second. Detroit's the only team in the NFL to be top 5 in success rate and EPA per play on both sides of the ball. They lost Ben Johnson. And it seems like they didn't throw away that playbook. They've looked really good since week 1. Week 1 was terrible. I said some horrible things about the Lions and never posted it, so no one will ever know after week 1. But they're a great team. Amon-Ra St. Brown's an incredible receiver. The defense is awesome. And Dan Campbell. If you say he's the best coach in football, I'm not arguing with you, but I'll disagree with you. Tampa's third. Tampa's been so underrated for so long. I think they have the second longest division, winning the division streak in the NFL.
Yes.
Every year, it's like Tampa's actually kind of good this year. They're just good. They're a good team. Now, the NFC South is terrible, but I think that, if Levante David played for, a bigger market, more successful team, he'd be a Hall of Famer. I think he's an incredible player. Vita Vea is awesome. Antoine Winfield's awesome. Tristan Wirfs is incredible. Baker Mayfield's incredible. Emeka Egbuka, Bucky Irving. They're the sexiest team. They're the most flashy, exciting players. They're like the inverse of Philly. If they played against each other, I feel like I would take Philly, but I'd be so excited to watch the Bucs. I'm a Falcons fan. I hate that I don't get to cheer for the Bucs because they'd be my favorite team if they weren't my division. And then I have Green Bay fourth, just because of their record. I think if if they just didn't lose to the Browns and beat the Cowboys, I think they're the best, most talented team on this list, but I like to look at results and what a team's done. If this was more projection, Tampa Bay is a very injured team. Green Bay just lost to the Browns. I'd probably rank Green Bay first, Philly second, Detroit third, and probably throw in San Francisco fourth for projecting things. But this is, as of right now, that's how my list would be. But yeah, Parsons is incredible. I don't really get to talk about Green Bay. I feel like he'll be there for a lot of us. But yeah, that's what I have.
All right.
Go ahead, Doug.
I can
I'm
go ahead?
deciding. I had one order, and I'm like, no, I don't know if I like
I'm actually going to go with Detroit as my number one. I mean, Detroit has looked great. I mean, I know they lost the first week to Green Bay, but they have been white hot so far going into the season. I mean, the offense with Jared Goff, and you got the two-headed monster in the backfield. You got David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs.
Sonic and Knuckles.
Yes, Sonic and Knuckles. I mean, they've been incredible. Amon-Ra St. Brown as well. I mean, and also their defense has been playing really well. And moving on to the Buccaneers, yes, they have won plenty of close games. I mean, I don't know. We had the first week they had Younghoe Koo miss that field goal, right? Yeah. Week 2, I believe, was it the
Beat the Texans by 1.
Yeah, they beat the Texans. They won on a last-second touchdown, and I think it was week 3 or week 4, or they beat the Jets on.
I'll just say they beat the Falcons off a missed field goal. The Texans by 1. They beat the Jets by 2. They lost the Eagles by 6, and they beat the Seahawks by 3. All one-possession games.
Yes, all one-possession games. And I mean, yes, Baker Mayfield has been absolutely awesome in the NFL, and Emeka Egbuka too. I mean, potential offensive rookie of the year, probably the top contender for offensive rookie of the year. I mean, they have been incredible on offense lately. But again, it's those uncomfortable wins that the Buccaneers have been going through lately. I don't know how long they can keep that magic up for the rest of the season. I have the Packers, of course. Yes, they had that 40-40 tie to the Cowboys, and their defense did not look great against Dak Prescott. I mean, Micah Parsons was kind of non-existent for that game until the very end on that game-winning, game-saving tackle on Dak Prescott at the goal line. But I still think they're a top contender. They can compete with Jordan Love and their offense. I mean, they do have an underrated receiving core, Romeo Doubs. They did lose Jaden Reed, but Romeo Doubs, who else did they have?
Christian Watson.
Yes, Christian Watson.
David Wicks, Jaden Reed. They have like 6 B- receivers on the team.
Yes, but still, I mean, the offense can still move, though.
Oh, yeah. Tucker Kraft's really good, too.
Oh, yes. Don't forget Tucker Kraft, man. Yes. And, yes, I still have Philly as number 4. I mean, they were the last undefeated NFC team. They did lose to Denver or just yesterday. But I still think that they can beat any other team that they face in the NFC. I just think they just got to make a quick change with their offensive coordinator. I don't think Kevin Patullo is the answer for them, for the Eagles. I think if they give Nick Sirianni the play calling duties, then I think their offense would be a lot more movable, I would say, instead of Jalen Hurts barely having any passing yards in the second half, I would say. But an honorable mention I would like to put out there, the 49ers. San Fran, I mean, they haven't been healthy. I mean, they have had Mac Jones starting at quarterback. Brock Purdy is getting injured. But still, I mean, they beat the Rams. I mean, that was a hard-fought game by them, and I mean, Mac Jones was getting punished out there. But still, I mean, yeah, I know, and we're talking about that defense too under Robert Saleh. I mean, they lost Nick Bosa for the season. They lost a lot of their defensive starters, and still they came out there and put the whooping on the Rams and. On the final like 2 minutes, punching out the ball from Kyron Williams at the goal line and that 4th and 1 stop. I think the 49ers, when they are healthy, they're gonna be a not Super Bowl team, but they're gonna be a powerhouse of a team in the NFC. So
absolutely. Now, it pains my soul because I so badly wanted to put Tampa Bay as number 1. I love Tampa Bay. I love what they're doing. They are building something there that is special, and I think when they get healthy, they're going to be really tough to stop wide receiver-wise, as far as even with Bucky Irving and Rachaad White over there as well. But I think when I thought about it, which is why I was saying, because if you would have went to me before, it would have been Tampa Bay 1 and Eagles would have been at 3, Lions would have been 2. I switched it up. I went Eagles 1, Tampa Bay 2, Lions 3, Packers 4. Honorable mentions were 49ers, then Seahawks. That's technically my 5 and 6. It's just tough to argue with the Eagles. And yes, they haven't looked like themselves. They haven't really looked balanced on offense. Their defense has been dominant. Their offense, at least the last 2 of the last 3 weeks, has kind of found a groove again in the passing game. Saquon started looking like himself, breaking off, what was it, a 57-yard run the other day? Or was it technically yesterday?
Yeah.
Was it 57, 47? It
was a passing touchdown, actually.
Passing, that's what it was. I was thinking running. It was a passing touchdown, but he's still looking like himself. He's still getting out there. The offensive line is still good. They haven't, knock on wood, dealt with too many injuries yet, which is kind of good for their team, especially in an NFC that is a gauntlet. Tampa Bay, like I said, moving on, they just seem to win no matter what the cost is. We've talked about it already. They were 3-point win against the Falcons. It was a 1-point win against the Texans. It was a 2-point win against the Jets. It was a 6-point loss against the Eagles and a 3-point win against the Seahawks. But the 6-point loss against the Eagles is one I want to highlight because they were originally down 24-3 in the second quarter. Found a way to come back, compete, sadly just couldn't get it done, and they ended up losing 31-25. But I think I read somewhere that Baker Mayfield, since joining the Buccaneers, has the most fourth quarter or overtime game-winning drives by any quarterback on one single team. So just so far since he's joined the Buccaneers. And it's like 8 or 9 or something ridiculous. I mean, this year alone, it's been like 4 different games that he's led a 2-minute drive to win the game. It is very impressive. I love what they're doing. The Lions are a third on me for my list. Their offense has been phenomenal. They've been great, especially after that Packers week 1 that just did not look like them. Everyone thought it was going to be the Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn not being there. All of a sudden, the Lions lost their identity. But they haven't. They still got Dan Campbell, and they're still going to bite your kneecaps off. So I still see the Lions as good. Their defense has been really great with Aiden Hutchinson back. I just don't know. I don't think quite yet the consistency, yet alone the opponents that they faced, have been quite to the level of like an Eagles or a Tampa Bay, or at least the dominance they showed. I don't know. It's just I don't feel like they're a top 2 team. They put up a lot of points, but I just feel like they're kind of right now picking off either weak teams or like under teams, even the Ravens, who, I mean, heck, when they played the Lions, they ended up losing, 6 starters on defense. So, and they haven't already looked good anyway.
The Ravens are a weak team.
Yes.
The Ravens are extremely weak. It's really bad. Now, I put them above the Packers, even though the Packers beat them, because I do think the current right now, the Lions have looked hotter than the Packers. The Packers lost to the Browns, and I don't remember who they beat. Or was it right to the
lost the Browns, tied the Cowboys by
It was lost,
and they have a
tie.
bye week
Okay,
this
yeah.
weekend,
So I was trying to remember because I knew it was lost to the Browns and then tie.
It went lost, tie, bye. That's
Yeah.
what they've done
So
last
it's like it hasn't been really quite the explanation point you want to put into or like the effort. But it is there. They have the talent. When they're at the top of their game, they probably are arguably the best team in the NFC.
Yes.
But for me, they're still 4. If we're going right now, I do think it goes Eagles, Tampa Bay, Lions, Packers. And then my 5th and 6th would be 49ers, even with Mac Jones out there, and Seattle Seahawks.
I will say right now, real quick, I think the best way to do year-long sports betting is just find things you believe in and wait until the stock is at its absolute lowest. And plus 850 Super Bowl for the Packers and Chiefs right now, especially the Packers. I think this is the time where Packers stock will be at its absolute. I'm surprised Chiefs is that high. I forget that one. I'm reading that up live right now. But I believe in the Packers this season. I think it's the lowest you'll be able to get it. I think it's a good time to invest in the Packers. I think if I'm ranking by projection, I'd have them first. But yeah, that
Plus 1,400 for the Ravens.
there's
Plus 1,900 for the Colts. I don't know. You can find a good team there.
1,700 for the Rams. There's honestly a lot of good. 2,500 for the Bucks.
Bucks? I'm about to say.
Yeah, we need to do a gambling show. Maybe this could become.
That's
a gambling
crazy.
I have read something.
The extra buck.
I've read something about the Green Bay Packers. When Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers were at age 27, they won a Super Bowl. Guess what age Jordan Love is?
27.
27.
27.
There you go.
That's it.
I mean,
that's all.
a
I don't know why we do
possibility.
other research or even play the games.
Yeah.
That's it. We did it.
Yeah.
Back to you, Jordan.
Okay, first of all, y'all all completely missed the point because the Cowboys are number 1. No, I'm not going to be ridiculous and say that. I'm going to say the Lions are number 1. There's a lot of smart people on this panel. I've got the Lions 1, I've got the Eagles 2, the 49ers 3, and the Rams 4. I think Caden said it earlier, the
Love the
Bucs are
Rams,
the
shout out.
sexiest team. I think that's absolutely Detroit. Their offense is unbelievably flashy. They have an elite quarterback. They have the second best receiver in the NFL in Amon-Ra St. Brown. They have a great tight end who's out of his sophomore slump now that he's in his 3rd year. They have an elite defense that's fully healthy for the first time in ages. And they have the best coach in the NFL currently. That's just clear and away number 1 in my book. Also, they lost 2 coordinators and haven't lost a step. That says a lot. I've got the Eagles too because I think yesterday's loss was a fluke. I think you can only play in so many one-possession games before you lose one. And I don't think yesterday's game should have gotten to one possession. That's a separate issue, but I think the Eagles are still an elite team. They find ways to win. They're not pretty, but they find ways to win. Their defense is still nasty, and I am going to believe in Philly, even though as a Cowboys fan, it pains me to do so. And then I have the 49ers 3 because the fact they're 4-1 with Mac Jones is unbelievable. It just shows how good that team really is. It shows how stingy the defense is. It shows how elite the offensive weapons are. Christian McCaffrey, an injured George Kittle, an injured basically entire wide receiver core, and you wouldn't know it when you watch this offense. It moves down the field effortlessly, and their defense creates game-winning plays. The forced fumble on Kyren Williams. And then I have the Rams 4. I'm surprised all of you left that off. They have Puka Nacua, who is the consistent wide receiver 1 in the NFL. I don't think it's up for debate at this point. Everyone knows he's getting the ball 10 times a game, and he's still able to do it. You can't guard him. I think their defense is great. I think they're a bad play call away from being 4-1. You don't hand the ball in the situation they did to Kyren Williams after giving it to him the 3 previous plays. And I think the 49ers and Rams are interchangeable. I think that's going to be a fight all year long for the top of the NFC West and for a key spot in the playoff. I don't believe in Tampa. And I know that's going to cause some controversy, but I think their offense is great. Their defense has so many issues. The fact that you have that level of an offense with the offensive rookie of the year, no doubt, in Emeka Egbuka, who's played at an unbelievable level so far. A Baker Mayfield who's resurrected his career since coming to Tampa. A Bucky Irving-Rashad White combo that's been absolutely lethal. A Mike Evans/Chris Godwin. One of them's been healthy, the other hasn't. They haven't both been healthy. And then Cade Otton, who's been a pretty good tight end, and a healthy O-line. And you're still barely winning games. It says a lot about the defensive problems that team has, and it's going to plague them, especially later on in the season. So that's my 4. Cowboys 5. No, I'm kidding. But I think the Cowboys do sneak into the playoffs, but that's a discussion we'll have later on, a different episode. But we're going to move real quick. This first game of our pick'ems for the day will be a really, really quick one. You all get one sentence, Ohio State or Illinois, big noon kickoff on Fox. Illinois is the home team, so it makes it a little bit more interesting, but I think we're all going to agree on this one. Caden, you go first.
Ohio State, I don't need my one sentence.
I made the mistake of betting against Illinois 2 weeks ago. Actually, 3 weeks ago. No, it was 2 against USC. It beat me up, but it's a comma, by the way, is what I'm using. So it's just, I'm still going to make the same mistake. I'm going to Ohio State. I don't see Illinois pulling it off against number 1. Ohio State needs a statement win. I think this is where they start their statement with ranked wins. Even though I don't think Illinois should be ranked.
Yeah. I think Ohio State will comfortably win. Their defense is too good, in my opinion, and I don't think Illinois will. I mean, they might put up a fight, but I just think Ohio State is just going to put it away. So.
Ohio State won't be close. They have the best defense, linebacker, receiver, and safety in the country in Caleb Downs. So, yeah, won't be close. Moving on to our second game, we're switching right back to the NFL. We've got a good one in Arrowhead Stadium next week. It is Sunday Night Football. It's the 4-1 Detroit Lions, who are on a 4-game win streak, versus the, right now, 2-2 Kansas City Chiefs. As of this recording, they have not played Jacksonville in the Monday Night Football game yet, so we don't know if they'll be 3-2. I think they will be, even though last week I picked Jacksonville on the show, so I probably shouldn't have done that. But I think we're looking at 4-1 Lions, 3-2 Chiefs, and the Chiefs are the home team. Who you got?
Never bet against Mahomes, but
I did. I picked the Lions. Again, top 5 in EPA per play and success rate on both sides of the ball. It's incredible. You said that the Lions were the sexiest team in the NFL. It was selective word choice. I think the Bucs are the sexiest team in the NFL, but the Lions are the most aesthetically pleasing offense in the NFL. Okay, just their use of trick plays, their way to methodically move the ball on the field, use a tandem of running backs. It's absolutely incredible. Is this one sentence?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so. Okay, cool. Yeah, so, yeah, I think the Lions, I said this last year, and if you don't get this, you don't get this, it's fine. It's a very, same energy type of thing. It's hard to explain. They remind me of the Spurs of, 12 years ago. They just, they just make the right decisions. They're just a secure team that you can rely on. Very aesthetically pleasing. And so I love the Lions, and the Chiefs are awkward and clunky and weird. In December, I think Kelsey, Chris Jones, and Mahomes are going to be magically incredible from December to February. We're not there yet. I have the Lions.
This is tough because I've learned many times not to bet against Mahomes, like you said. And I was going to play that like you did and say Detroit, but now I'm second-guessing myself because Steve Spagnuolo is a genius over there. He is a real genius. And they're really good on that side of the ball on the defense. And they're also very good on offense. They're kind of getting their groove back. But I think back to the Detroit Lions offense and their defense. And I think Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams, Sam Laporta, Jared Goff, Penei Sewell. And you look at everyone else there, and they just have so many weapons. And I probably said his last name.
You said David Montgomery or Jahmyr Gibbs, I don't think.
I did. I said Jahmyr Gibbs.
David?
No, you're good.
Yeah.
And then you also get Frank Ragnow, and you look at, I don't know the rest of the people, but they have really good guards.
Taylor Decker's gone? Right?
Yeah, I think he is.
gone.
And then you look at the defense, and it's Aiden Hutchinson, Brian Branch, Kirby Joseph. Like, who is it? Alex Anzalone? And, like, Jack Campbell, I believe. There are too many good players for Detroit to lose this. I know it's an Arrowhead. It's going to be a close game. I think 24-21. But I think Detroit has the talent to be able to win this. And if Kansas City finds some way to staple or stop their run or their pass, Detroit's just going to kill them with the other side. So it's just tough to defeat that type of offense. I have Detroit winning.
They were my number one team, and I'm still going with the Lions to win this matchup. Yes, Steve Spagnuolo, he is a great defensive coordinator. I mean, he did shut down Lamar until he got injured. But again, I think the Chiefs are still lackluster, in my opinion. They have not been the Kansas City that we've known for years, and I still think that Detroit, it will be very tight. It will be a close game. Possibly Lions have a game-winning drive, in my opinion, but I still see the Lions coming away with the W in this one. So.
I think it's 2006, the year the Colts won the Super Bowl. The last unbeaten teams in the NFL each season have failed to win the Super Bowl. This year, that takes the Eagles and the Bills out if that trend continues, which paves the way for one team, the Lions. It's their time. They have absolutely, on both sides of the ball, I think the best team in the NFL. I think they win this one. I think the Chiefs, they have a great defense, and Steve Spagnuolo is brilliant. But there's too many weapons. Brian spent 2 minutes listing off all the names on their team. There's just too many weapons. There's too much you can do with that offense. And let's be real, Jared Goff may not throw 4 passing touchdowns next weekend, but Amon-Ra St. Brown could throw 3 on flea flickers. You just never know what this team is going to throw at you. It makes it really hard to prepare for. So I've got the Lions going to 5-1 next Sunday night. But moving on real quick, we've got some FOMO in Como, because Alabama and Mizzou take on an SEC showdown in Columbia next Saturday. Columbia, Missouri, not Columbia, South Carolina. But Alabama, led by Ty Simpson, one of the best quarterbacks in the nation, against an undefeated Missouri Tigers team led by Penn State transfer Bo Pribula, who is certainly laughing at the state Penn State is currently in. But Alabama, Mizzou, one sentence, who you got?
Missouri hasn't won since, I think, 75.
In this matchup? Like
Against Alabama.
Oh, yeah, this head-to-head matchup?
There's a ...
Yeah.
The moon landing was 6 years prior to that.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Wow.
I might go over my one sentence. I apologize, but I'll be very quick. I'm just saying there might be a catchphrase that I either heard before or made up. If the tide starts coming, you better start running. And I think Mizzou should start running because Alabama's on a roll right now, and I think they're just going to be really good. Plus, you can't bet against them. It's like Kansas City, and it's like...
Yes, absolutely. You cannot bet against the Alabama Crimson Tide. I'm still picking the Tide in this one. I just think they're going to give Missouri their first loss of the season, and I still believe in Ty Simpson being a great quarterback for the remainder of the season. So,
Give me Alabama. Simple as that. No explanation needed. But moving on to a game that I don't think personally, and this is just me, needs too much analysis, but that also kind of tips off who my pick is. But College Game Day making the choice to go to Eugene, Oregon. The second Oregon game they've covered in 3 weeks. Obviously, the first one being in Happy Valley against Penn State. But now they play host to the Hoosiers of Indiana. Curt Cignetti looking for his signature win with Indiana. against Oregon, led by Dan Lanning. I think he's the best coach in college football currently, certainly the most exciting coach in college football. You could argue Kirby Smart is probably better, but your take, Indiana, Oregon, 2 Heisman contenders. Who you got?
It's not a great matchup to talk about, then why is it on the script? But seriously, I think that Oregon is a much better team. Indiana, honestly, this is more philosophical than it is analytical. Indiana is one of those programs where, like, I believe in the head coach. I mean, he went from James Madison to Indiana. He brought that entire roster. Like, he's clear that these players like him. The players have bought in to Kurt Cignetti. I can never pronounce it. Kurt Cignetti. How do you say his name? Cignetti. It's clear the players have bought into Cignetti. The Indiana fan base, I haven't been over there. I'm sure they're going to buy in soon, and maybe it's time for everyone to believe at some point. Maybe this is that game, but I need to see them come in and actually solidify themselves, because they were like 11-1 last year because they didn't play anyone and they lost. They got blown out the one game they played. Like, I need to see them go against an elite opponent and beat them before I can actually pick them for these games. But I think that day will come eventually, and maybe that's this week. But once I see it, everything changes. I got to see it before I can believe it.
I was going to make some joke about the Oregon Trail, like the Oregon Trail was a travesty, and the next stop on the Oregon Trail is going to be Indiana, and Indiana's next stop. But it didn't really work out, so I'm just going to pick Oregon, and I'm going to say this. Cignetti, the best way to memorize it sounds like spaghetti, and the best way to memorize that is because just like spaghetti, Cignetti is weak and flimsable, and you can't support anything with it. So I got Oregon. I don't think Indiana is really that good. I kind of think they're overhyped. I just don't trust them. There's nothing to trust about them. I don't like them. And he also did me dirty because my sister went to JMU, so I was a JMU fan, and he just said, I'm staying here forever, and then dipped 2 weeks after the college game day. So screw Cignetti. He's going to lose anyway. They're going to Oregon, to one of the best teams, in my opinion, the best team in college football, and Dan Lanning is going to show you who they are. That's a flashback to the We Are speech that Dan Lanning gave, if anyone was not watching.
I'm going to pick the O, Oregon. I don't know how I can see Indiana winning this one, but if Indiana, I mean, yes, they're ranked number 7. If Indiana can put up a fight, this will prove to them, like, how good Indiana really is. I mean, you're going against a powerhouse in Oregon who just beat Penn State. And, I mean, yes, Indiana blew the bricks out of, was it Illinois? But, yeah, I don't know how I feel about Cignetti going against Dan Lanning and these Oregon Ducks, but I think I have Oregon winning this by at least 2 possessions. So,
If you Google Kurt Cignetti, he wins. That's what his record says. He's only lost in the regular season to Ohio State, and he's only lost in the postseason to Notre Dame. And if you recall last year, those 2 teams were the 2 teams in the College Football Playoff National Championship. Well, if you Google what sound a duck makes, it quacks. And what Oregon doesn't do in the regular season is quack under pressure. Give me Oregon in this one. Dan Lanning and the Ducks just too strong. They are the best regular season team in college football over the last 2 seasons. They went undefeated in the regular season last year, unanimous number 1 going into the college football playoff. This year might be no different. We'll see if they end up playing Ohio State in the Big Ten championship. But I think Oregon, the better team here. I think Fernando Mendoza is a great quarterback, and I think Indiana is a good team, not a great team. That makes the difference. And the fact it's in Oregon. We saw this last year when Oregon played Ohio State at home. They beat Ohio State at home. Indiana is nowhere near as good as that Ohio State team last year was, so I think Oregon takes this one fairly easily. But to the final game and the final topic of the extra point for this week, it's the battle of 4-1 teams, and we talked about them a good bit earlier. San Francisco traveling down to Tampa Bay to take on the Cannons and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Caden coined them the sexiest team in football. I'm not sure I agree with that, but I think Caden's probably going to pick the Bucs here, but we'll see who the rest of the panelists pick.
The Bucs haven't beaten anybody, and they've beaten everyone by like 1 possession, and they're completely hurt. They're absolutely dismantled, and I made a very clear point that projection-wise, Tampa Bay is not a top 4 NFC team. From what we've seen so far, looking at the record, you got to look at wins and losses. They're there. I'm a diehard Falcons fan that believes in jinxing teams. I need no one to knock on wood. I have Tampa Bay winning this game. Baker Mayfield's a hero. Baker Mayfield will stay healthy for 17 games. There's no way Baker gets hurt. I never see Baker get hurt. Unlike the rest of his team, he's going to stay healthy. He's Herculean, and there is no way the San Francisco 49ers win this game. Tampa Bay will absolutely run away with it. They are the sexiest team. Look at Tristan Wirfs, Antoine Winfield, Bucky Irving, Rashad White. I know Bucky's hurt, whatever. Baker Mayfield. Look at Kyle Trask. Look at Emeka Egbuka. Look at Chris Godwin, Mike Evans. Look at Antoine Winfield. Look at Vita Vea. Look at Levante David.
Graham Barton.
Graham Barton, a great team. Yeah.
Not the center
So that's a list. That's a
Start going to tackles.
those are all those. That's a list of
McLaughlin.
Kalijah Cansey.
Kalijah can't stay over the field. Yeah, a little 6'1" legend. Yeah,
Tyrone.
King.
Who's number
Perfect.
9?
So yeah, that's why I have Tampa Bay. There is
Tyron.
no way Tampa Bay
something.
loses this game.
I get your point, and I understand, but the Falcons are still going to have to go through Carolina. That's where it runs through in the division, 30-0. Yes. I love the Bucs, man. I absolutely love them, and they have been so clutch, so good, so ferocious in how they win and play. But I got the 49ers, all right? I don't care what they do. I got the 49ers. I'm breaking it up. They just have something special that I can't put on, like, I can't describe it. It's just, for some reason, Mac Jones found a new home, but he's probably going to be evicted in like 2 weeks when Brock Purdy comes back. But for this game and this game only, Mac Jones will be the center of the spotlight. He will put down his foot just like he did with the Rams. He will march over to Tampa, or should I say sail over to Tampa, shoot his cannons, and kill the Bucs dynasty. I'm joking, there's no dynasty, but kill the Bucs hopes at least for this week. So I do have the 49ers going over there. I do think they'll find a way to win. Christian McCaffrey is, like I saw in many skits, he's the running back, the wide receiver, the tight end, the left tackle, the center, the edge rusher, the quarterback, the safety, the cornerback, and the kicker, all in the same player, and he is a beast of a man and of a player. So I have the 49ers on the back of Christian McCaffrey from the arm of Mac Jones. I have the 49ers taking this in a win, probably like 24-21, 27-24. I'm not going to say the same score, 24-21, but it's probably like a 3-point game, 6-point game. But the 49ers will find a way to win with their depleted roster.
Mac Jones, the only quarterback in the NFL where if you Google just his first name, he does not come up first.
Just like Pitbull.
Just like Pitbull. Yeah.
Looking head-to-head these past few years, San Francisco has had the upper hand. Yes, C-Mac is a beast. It's C-Mac and friends. I mean, Mac Jones as well. I mean, he's been playing great so far. And
Mac and Mac.
yes, exactly.
Not the most famous Mac on his team either, Mac Jones.
Yes, absolutely. But there's something about the Buccaneers. And they got like this dark magic going on. I think they have that dark magic that carried from the Kansas City last year. I mean, we know how that went out, right? But as a Panthers fan, I hate to say it, but I got to go with Tampa Bay. Yes, my drawing is not the best, but I'm going to go with Tampa Bay here. They're going to find somewhere out of the blue, out of the ocean. They're going to find a win. Baker Mayfield is going to lead them down the field on a game-winning drive, or maybe a game-winning field goal by Chase McLaughlin. But I don't know how San Francisco is going to beat this magic. I'm going to go with none other than the Buccaneers.
So apparently in the new addition to the panel this week, we also got our best artist we've had in the history of this show. That was a pretty darn good Buccaneers logo, my friend. But as far as this game goes, I think there's a gold rush in Tampa Bay. I've got the 49ers. I think their defense is too good. I think Christian McCaffrey and friends is a good way to coin this 49ers team. But it says a lot that they haven't lost during that time. This team lives and dies with the health of Christian McCaffrey, and it was Dan Orlovsky who said, I believe it was 3 years ago on Get Up, he was like, if Mac Jones was the quarterback of the 49ers, this was back when he was a New England Patriot, the 49ers would still be the best team in the NFL because of who's around him. Well, fast forward 3 years later, Mac Jones is the quarterback of the 49ers, and the 49ers, not the best team in the NFL, but certainly look pretty darn good. I don't see that slowing down because I don't think it matters who's quarterback for San Francisco as long as there's a weapon that's healthy in a gold and maroon uniform. So I got San Francisco going to 5-1, and that is going to wrap up this week's show, the third episode of The Extra Point. Thank you, Alex, Brian, and Caden for coming on the show. As always, pleasure having you guys, and we will be back here next week with episode 4 of The Extra Point. Have a great week, enjoy the football, and we'll see you next time.